and these ETFs are on track for launch. Now, James Safer breaks it down and he shows us, he highlights the wording that was used, right? Canary filed this way first on October 7th for both Litecoin and HBAR, and Bitwise did it on October 8th for their Solana ETF. Then Grayscale did it on October 9th for their Grayscale Solana ETF. Now, this was a post from James yesterday. He says, I couldn't find anyone else who had added this language yet. So I said, well, looks like we need to dig. And so that's what I did this morning. And what I uncovered was this pre-effective amendment number 2 to the S1 for Canary. And this was filed with the SEC on October 10th, 2025. Now, I already sent this to my Discord group this morning and I said, guys, this looks like we might be going live here soon, this week. As I'm recording this update, I just got the DM. It's going live today. Folks, this is happening today. This is breaking. And so what we're looking at right here is the verbiage is right here. And I'm going to read it off to you. It's very small writing right here, but I'm going to read it off. The registrant hereby amends this registration statement on such date or dates as may be necessary to delay its effective date until the registrant shall file a further amendment, which specifically states that this registration statement shall thereafter become effective in accordance with Section 8A of the Securities Act of 1933, or until the registration statement shall become effective on such date as the Commission, acting pursuant to said Section 8A, may determine.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news related channel. And Johnny Krypto, we got a special guest, the first guest ever on the brand new Good Evening Crypto channel. And we did this intentionally, guys. So I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Mickle for making time for us tonight. And the headlines, they just create themselves. They heard we were going live. They go, we got to get this XRP ETF narrative going. That's what we're kicking off today's show with. But first of all, Mickle, how are you feeling tonight before we even dive into the show? I saw you moved. Congratulations on the move and all the amazing content. There's been so much bearish sentiment in the crypto market, but I feel like you, Zach, a couple other content creators, you've kept the optimism, as have we, and I'm excited to have you here for today's episode. So huge shout out to you. How you feeling, Mickle? And thanks for being here.
No, I'm feeling great. Appreciate you for having me on. I tried to back out on Abs. He wouldn't let me, but super excited to be here. No, always excited to be on the show and didn't know I was the first guest. So that's pretty cool. I feel like I'm kind of like have a bit of a home field advantage here or something. But no, for me, it's always like one of those things where there's a lot of news and shakeout events, government shutdowns, tariffs that cause big fluctuations in all markets, whether you're looking at the stock market, whether you're looking at the macro kind of crypto market. But really, all these things just move the market together. And that's been a lot of the trading we've seen recently. And if you look at the more long-term monthly candles, if you look at the longer time horizons, I mean, a lot of these moves, albeit very volatile in the short term, kind of get shaken out over the long term. So for me, it's a lot of the fundamental stuff that I'm paying attention to. And that looks incredibly strong. I know we're going to cover a lot of that on the show today. So, you know, it's one of those things for me where unless I don't see the fundamentals materializing, then it's hard for me to really get bearish on this market. So I'm kind of very bullish regardless of what's happening in the short term or what's the most recent freak out event going on.
Well, Johnny, one thing we know for sure, we overcame the tariff narrative. We overcame the war narratives. We will overcome whatever that liquidity wick was just a couple of weeks ago. And I think a lot of people overestimated just how important that liquidity wick was. What happened here, guys? XRP went from $2.80 to $1.50 on most exchanges. And there was panic all in the market. BC Backer had some big predictions. People were saying it's a bear market. We never fell for that. We never stepped into that time frame. Instead, we focused on the catalysts, the ETFs, the Clarity Act, and all the modernization of settlement that we're going to break down. But today, once again, we are going to get into that video we just showed you from Zach Rector. XRP approval dates revealed. That's what we need to break down for today's episode. According to Zach, this thing may be going live tomorrow. I think there's a better possibility. Let's give him till Friday. But first of all, how are you feeling, Johnny? And thanks for being here.
Well, Abs, we all survived the leverage wipeout. Good evening to all the crypto maniacs out there. We love and appreciate you guys for showing up every single night. I'm super excited to have Mickle in the house tonight. First guest ever on GEC. Mickle, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you. You know what, Abs? I mean, there's so much talk, so much excitement, so many catalysts coming. Everybody's excited. I actually agree with Mickle. To me, when we had that leverage wipeout, everybody was panicking. It's like, wait a minute, guys, take it easy. Nothing fundamentally changed. Blockchains are cheaper, better solutions. They are coming. There's no doubt about it. So everybody just needs to take a deep breath, relax, calm down, and just know that we are on a massive trajectory, guys. I'm telling you, it's 1996, 97 all over again, and I'm excited about it because Abs, as I always say, you might have been in diapers back then, but today you're in long pants and you're going to get to enjoy the journey. It's going to be a fun.
Listen, guys, I'm not the little dog on this show. Mickle's younger than myself, so those jokes, they won't fly tonight. Me and Mickle will team up against you there, old dog. An old dog with the same tricks, as they say. But Mickle, I want to get some opinions on this before we dive into the topics for today's show. The liquidity wick we had a couple of weeks ago made newer investors so nervous. We heard it in our live chat. I'm sure you saw the same thing in your community, where people were extremely nervous. And with the calling of the bear market that BC Backer had been promoting just a couple of days prior, it looked like that cascading effect was going to take us into what I would call a black swan situation. But of course, that's not what occurred. We had a great rebound. And XRP, although it was down to $1.50 on most exchanges, it closed the hourly candle above $2. What's your take on the momentum that we're kind of seeing in the market and what that liquidity wick meant for you, having been a veteran in this space?
Yeah, so for me, it's always important to really break down the emotional side of what's going on when you have something like that, because at the end of the day, you see these reactions across all markets, and the one common denominator across all markets is really who's trading them. So ultimately, humans are really making the decision in any one of these events whether to buy or sell an asset. Now, something super interesting that, in my opinion, is driving a lot of these markets right now that I think is kind of misunderstood is a lot of the introduction of algorithmic trading. So when we saw the tariff headline come across the finish line, you saw huge red candles across the equity market, across the cryptocurrency market. And there's clearly some kind of game going on here where people are selling news on tariffs, selling off risk assets. And right now for Wall Street, that's where these cryptocurrencies end up in a portfolio, a risk asset portion of the portfolio. There's clearly some kind of thing where whenever a tariff headline comes around, they're selling off risk assets. I mean, you see this in the Federal Reserve commentary. Whenever the Federal Reserve talks about not lowering interest rates, you see the same reaction. There's a lot of this headline trading going on. And there's obviously also a lot of leverage in the cryptocurrency market. What we saw, obviously, was a lot of those people with leverage got liquidated when some of these algorithms kicked into place on the Trump tariff news, even though we find out now that we might not even see any change in tariffs. So a lot of people try to front run these events. A lot of people get liquidated because they get caught off sides. And that just causes essentially a death spiral. Like what you said, Abs, the most important thing was the recovery. You saw that huge green candle eat up all the sell volume. And for me, that's a clear indication that a lot of people were caught off sides with a lot of leverage. There's a big panic event for something that really has nothing to do with the cryptocurrency industry. If someone can tell me how a tariff impacts XRP, I'd be delighted to know. But when you're running through that kind of logic in your head, right, all the rational people came in and obviously scooped up that dip. So there's clear demand for it. A lot of people saw it as a freak opportunity to get some really cheap XRP. And because of that, obviously the market rebounded really well. And I think we're continuing to see a lot of buy volume to stabilize prices at this level. So I think in a couple of weeks, the government shutdown will be resolved, just like every government shutdown is resolved. Everyone will forget the word tariff. The interest rates will probably be cut by the Federal Reserve, and you'll start to see some of these ETFs flow across the finish line, and everyone will completely forget about the flash crash. That was more of a one-off event.
So we've highlighted the supply shock that we're predicting here for a really long time. And we think the catalysts that are going to lead to that is the ETF approvals coinciding with the passing of the Clarity Act. We're going to have all of these different use cases begin to enter the American markets. At the same time, new vehicles are being established for people to get exposure to assets like XRP. And so my question to you, Mickle, is do you buy into the narrative that there will be this big supply shock moment? Or is it more about just this trade up and to the right over the long term that we all believe in?
You know, I think, I kind of believe in two sides of it, and it's hard because there's no like real definition of like what a supply shock would be. I think you're looking at an interesting scenario where the cryptocurrency market is being turned on to a level of buy side volume that it's probably never seen before. If you look at a lot of the total net inflows in the cryptocurrency market, my favorite website for that is CoinGlass. You can get some really good insights into what's happening with net inflows and outflows. I mean, the numbers are shockingly small for the amount an asset like XRP moves in its market cap. I know Zach has done some great videos highlighting this and the market cap multiplier and that side of things. There's a lot of interesting phenomenons there. And, you know, I do think you're going to see a level of volume that come into the cryptocurrency market, and a lot of that being on the buy side that we've really never seen before. In terms of a supply shock per se, you know, it's hard for me to really comment too much on it, because the reason why XRP's price really increases at the end of the day is to prevent supply shocks. So it's kind of a natural supply shock killer, because as XRP goes up in price, it unlocks more supply. So in the sense that there's going to be a supply shock, in that you're going to see a whole bunch of new buy volume that wasn't there, and not a whole lot of new sell volume at the current prices. Yeah, you could see a supply shock there, but obviously as XRP goes up in price, new volume becomes accessible on the sell side because people are willing to sell at higher prices. So depends how you look at the term. I do think there's going to be a ton of net new buy volume that this market hasn't seen before, and I think that's going to reflect very positive for price. But I also don't think all the institutions are going to pick to start buying XRP on a specific day. I think you're going to see a buildup of a lot of it, and it's going to continue to have a big impact on the market week after week, month after month, and year over year.
You know what I find interesting too, and Johnny, we talked about this earlier in the episode, or maybe this was yesterday, was that JP Morgan has also admitted the fact that more institutions are interested in XRP than Solana. But that same narrative was the complete inverse just a couple of years ago. I think as these products are onboarded into the market, and Mickle, you gave us a great website here. This is CoinGlass to kind of show you guys. You can head on over to the website, track the inflows versus the outflows. And Zach has done some phenomenal work when it comes to the XRP market cap multiplier. It works in both directions. So my belief is that although we're going to have this massive euphoric moment where, just like every other bull market, 80% of the gains are made in the last 20% of the bull run. Typically, 80% of the gains for altcoins come during a 12-week period every 4 years. When that occurs, and if we get something similar in the back half of this year or early 2026, my anticipation is that XRP in a short time frame will become dramatically overvalued. I think that we're going to go to these ranges, whether it be $10, $12, $15, and then have a major correction after the fact. So that's one of the reasons I talk about taking a small amount of profit. But when you think about what could be a difference this time around, is that sustained demand. So if you think differently, Mickle, I'd love to hear kind of the opposite end of that argument, or if you agree with the same sentiment that we're going to go overvalued and back to undervalued.
I think it's hard to say we won't go overvalued and back to undervalued, because that's just the way XRP moves. You see that in every single move. Now, personally, I don't think we're going to continue to see the same long, dramatic bear markets we've seen before in the past. You know, for me, it's just, I look at a lot of other early industries in like the internet industry with companies like Apple, Google, Amazon. And you saw like in the very early days where these companies were trading, you saw these huge depressions where price wouldn't move for 10 years, 5 years, 8 years at a time. And it was really due to a lack of understanding from the market on what these companies were doing. And then eventually over time, you started to get metrics, right? And you started to get ways to actually value these companies, because for a while, these internet companies weren't making any money. A lot of people thought it was a fad, and they traded on a lot of emotions. Sometime down the road, it became very obvious which internet companies were going to be the winners and which ones were going to be the losers, and who's going to make a lot of money and who was just going to kind of fade away with a niche product or a niche idea that didn't really have any sticking power. Whether or not this is something that's going to take place in the cryptocurrency market in the next year or the next 5 years, I'm not sure. But based off of what I was talking about, because the same humans that really bid the entire internet bubble to now are essentially now trading cryptocurrencies, I do think you're going to see a similar phenomenon. So we'll have to see just how quickly things start getting rolled out. If you start to see these ETFs coming online, you start to see a lot of cryptocurrency IPOs. You start seeing CNBC talking about these crypto companies all day, ETFs of the companies. It's going to start to, what I think, really develop into what we saw in the early internet days. And you're going to see a very prolonged bull market for a lot of these different assets. In the same way, Apple has continued to make year over year high over and over again for the past 20 years. Yes, there's been corrections. Yes, 2008 derailed things for a little bit, but it was more of an Apple growth story than anything else. I think we're going to see that translate to the cryptocurrency market. And for me, it's not really I don't like playing the game of potentially missing something like that to take profit. Not to say that I won't take profits along the way. I think everyone should and everyone will to a certain degree. But I think for the vast majority of people, especially people on the younger side like myself, you know, for me, it's like I would rather see what that XRP is worth in 35 years than take any risk offloading too much at any low price.
I agree with that sentiment a lot. And I also think it's important to use products like the Gemini card. This is something that I've just started using myself, where I can kind of passively earn some XRP because I'm going to be using a credit card anyways. And we don't have a sponsorship with them, but I actually use that product. So want to give a shout out to them. But Johnny, big announcement for us. I am going to be giving away these Good Evening Crypto hats. We're not doing a live giveaway because Mickle's on the stream, but I just wanted to let people know they were asking for the merch. We made 10 hats. I'm giving them away for free. We're going to raffle them off during our live streams all throughout this week and next. So I'm excited to do that for you guys. But Johnny, what Mickle says makes a really good point. Imagine how wealthy you personally would be if you held Amazon from 1990 until 2025. A $10,000 investment could be north of $300 million in 25 years. And that's what I think Mickle's point is basically with that whole analysis is, yeah, maybe in the short term, if you take some profit, it may work in your favor for a 3 to 6 month period. But over the long run, the guy who just buys this asset, sits on it, and continues to accumulate, those are the Elon Musk, those are the Jeff Bezos, those are the Peter Thiels. Like, that is what's about to come into the crypto space as well. So, floor is yours. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, Abs, I don't have to guess how much of a mistake I made because I know it was a $52 million mistake when I sold all my Amazon in 97. But the thing is, you know, I couldn't agree more with Mickle here. When we talk about what happened back then, that was all triggered by the Telecom Act. Most people don't know this, but we had a Telecom Act in 96, which unlocked that liquidity where companies were able to invest in that space. I literally almost see it happening over again right now as we speak, where the Clarity Act will be similar to that. And then we're going to see a flood of liquidity coming in. The difference is this time I've got Merlin apps. I didn't have it back then. I wish I had something where I could have created the profit plan and understood I should be taking a little bit of profits on the way up, but I should have held a big bag. Like Mickle just said, I should have held on to a bag back then, but I didn't know any better at the time, right? I thought, shit, this thing went up. I made 10 grand. I made half my salary in 3 months. Who isn't going to sell, right? Nobody, we didn't have the foresight to know what was going to happen then. But I think we all know now that we are going to see the blockchains are coming. It is going to change. We're seeing the presidential administration do things we've never seen before in any of the prior bull runs, where they've actually created the crypto czar. It's the first time ever in our history that we have a cabinet seat that his job is to inform the president of how do we make America the crypto capital of the world. That tells me all I need to know, that we're in the right place and we're investing at the right time. And now we just make sure we have a plan so we know how to profit. And that's what most people struggle with.
Well, you know what's good too, and it's kind of reassuring, is that Kevin O'Leary came out with this video earlier today where he was saying Ethereum has a congestion problem. Ethereum has a scaling issue. And that's something that we've said for a really long time on our channel. Guys, I'm going to play about 30 seconds. We're 18 minutes into the episode, over 3,300 live listeners. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button, throw a hashtag Mickle in the chat. We appreciate him for giving us some of his time tonight, especially after the heart attack before stream. But here's 30 seconds of Kevin O'Leary. Here it is.
Ethereum, everybody knows that name, and Solana is also popular over the last 3 years. They're too slow because you're going to be doing 100 million transactions around the world every minute. And that's going to get very stuck on those chains. And that happened a couple of weekends ago in Ethereum when all of a sudden it was just a mess when they had a big correction in the digital markets and the crypto markets. So we've got to build off that, and that's coming soon. But I'm really excited because the Clarity Act, it'll be law probably in the next 90 days, further defining the law towards this vision I'm giving you.
So it's funny, Mickle, because this guy's stealing our talking points, right? Like we've been talking about how the Clarity Act unlocks this entire market, as have many content creators in general. But Ethereum having a scaling issue, this is something that Wall Street investors like Kevin O'Leary have not been willing to admit. What are some of your thoughts on this clip?
You know, I think it's one of those things that's an education game. And it's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize when it comes to our knowledge of the cryptocurrency market versus a lot of these new people coming in. People aren't used to seeing the slow speed at which these mainstream figureheads are going to pick up on a lot of this stuff. But you've really, and I keep bringing this up, but you see it over and over again. I mean, these people watched Amazon appreciate to thousands of dollars before there was profit coming in. And then they said, oh, this is a good business. You saw people do the same exact thing with Apple, where it's like, oh, what are we going to do with this smartphone? It took Wall Street forever until they had the reoccurring revenues, and there was like the business that was like slapping them in the face. It like you see this time after time, and I think a lot of people look at those people and look how much attention they have and think, oh, they must like know something I don't. But I just don't think that's really the case. I think a lot of these people are just really starting to learn about cryptocurrency in the same exact way. When I got into crypto, everyone was talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm like, okay, these are the things I need to pay attention to. That's what a lot of these people are doing as well, right? But you don't see the flaws until you really start to understand this stuff, because when you first get into crypto, you see this thing you've never even heard of. You don't even really understand what it is. And you see this line going up and down and you're like, oh, that's cool. It's just something for me to trade. It takes a long time, I think, for people to really understand things like network architecture and understand the inherent benefits and flaws of different chains. And those are the kind of fundamentals I think these things are really going to be valued on over the long run, because it's going to promote longevity and it's going to promote actual adoption with being able to have feature sets that these different institutions and corporations can take advantage of and rely on. So personally, I'm not surprised by his commentary. And I think you're going to see a lot of people go through that similar phase where even though they have all this money and all this popularity, they're going to be learning just like you and I. So it's going to be a bit of an adoption curve we're going to see. We're going to see different flows. And I think we should expect to see people learning about this industry kind of alongside of us. One of the first times this has really taken place the way it is with the cryptocurrency market, because there were no IPOs. These things were just publicly available, and we were able to start buying these things and take interest in them a lot earlier than you would have in traditional markets, where there's VC rounds and private rounds, and then suddenly it's an IPO and everyone already knows what it is and who people are already invested. And I think you're going to continue to see people wake up to the fact that the technicals of how these chains work actually matter. And it's one of my favorite parts about the XRP ledger. As a former engineer myself and someone who really tries to understand as much as I can about these different chains, I just always come back to the architecture of the XRP ledger as being one of my favorites by far and away.
You know what's funny? There's two big topics I want to get into, guys. So be sure to stick around until the end of the episode. But while Mickle's here, I want to touch two major topics. Now, the first one, I wanted to get into some of the Jake Klaver price predictions and things of that nature. We love to cover Jake's content. We always cover him consistently. And we use a lot of his content to actually give us food for thought to break down some of these topics. But what Jake is predicting is a reset of the settlement layers. And I think that's a completely separate narrative than everything that we just broke down. We talked about the ETFs, the stable coins. We'll get into the smart contracts, the side chains, things of that nature. But when you think about what Jake's predicting, he is predicting life-changing generational wealth. And he's being very outspoken about that. And quite frankly, he's led a lot of people into the XRP community who are now excited and bought into the vision that we're bought into. That XRP is in the process of building the foundation for digital asset payments. And that's not just inside the United States, that's globally. So if you could just speak to that a little bit, and maybe some of like your opinions on his thesis for what's about to go down here globally, including XRP.
Yeah, no. And one of my favorite things about Jake, because is that he's not afraid to put his opinion out there and make his thesis heard. I mean, I'll tell you from someone who's had more conversations with Jake than a lot of people. It's no different, whether it's me and him on the phone one-on-one, it's close people we're both close with and work with, or it's what he says broadly. Jake is very, very convicted and very optimistic with his opinions. And I think what he did was he really gave a platform for a lot of other people to really feel more comfortable with saying where they think XRP will go over the long run. I see it all the time in the Bitcoin community where people are predicting $1 million, $10 million, $100 million Bitcoins over the long run. And it's really celebrated in that community. And for whatever reason, that has become some kind of taboo in the XRP community. And, you know, I just think when you look at the power of these technologies and you look at the power of past technologies, you know, I don't even think any of it's really like that insane. I mean, like I keep talking about Amazon at 30 cents, right? You'd be laughed out of a room if you said it was going to $1,000. It goes to $1,000. Everyone, when Amazon was at 30 cents, the big commentary was, oh, that would be bigger than the largest oil company on earth. It's like, yeah, now it's 10 times that and no one blinks an eye. So everything seems crazy. I think it's hard for people to superimpose themselves in this position of being able to find something like this and accumulate wealth like that. But I think it's really important for people to realize that it happens all the time. There's countless investments that have done that with time. There's countless of people who have figured this out. And for the first time ever, this cryptocurrency industry is really democratizing it a little bit more and making it a little bit more available. Things like this live stream we're on right now and YouTube videos people make it a little easier for people to get involved and understand and learn from each other. And I think we're seeing the same exact thing right now. So personally, I'm very in line with Jake. I will say when it comes to me, I see things happening a bit slower than Jake, where I think Jake thinks it happens a lot quicker and all at once. I would consider myself someone who thinks this is more of a stair step upward rather than an elevator, and that prolongs over. I see XRP appreciating probably for the next 30 to 45 years. Where it is at the end of that time frame, I have no idea. I think it's going to blow everyone's mind, and everything we talk about today is going to seem silly looking back from now. So that's sort of how I see it. I don't know where those stair steps come in. I don't know where we plateau, where we take those steps up. All I know is I see something extremely valuable in front of me, and if it continues to mature into what I think it's going to mature into, it will be exceedingly more valuable in the future.
I agree. And here's what I agree with on Jake's vision is that I think it's really difficult to predict the time frame on these things, but I do think it's easier to kind of look at the catalyst and figure out what's necessary. For anyone who gave a live donation, guys, I just want to give a huge thank you. We're going to address every single one of those at the end of the stream. But while Mickle's here, we're going to stay focused on this conversation. And while Mickle's here, Johnny, we were also going to go over that Zach RECTOR video and just break down what are we looking at? Are we going to see an XRP ETF tomorrow? Will it take until Friday? Maybe we can get a more accurate timeline kind of given to our listeners here. But any quick thoughts on what Mickle had to say?
Yeah, no, I'll just wrap it up by saying at the end of the day, if you had said to me in 97, when I was holding, I bought Amazon at $17, sold it at 27. If you had said to me it was going to $1,000, I said you're fucking nuts. I said you're freaking nuts. It ain't happened. No freaking way, right? But yet, fast forward 20 years later, it got to $3,300, and that was a $52 million mistake, right? So the point being is you'll never hear me coming out here and say that no price is possible. No, because at the end of the day, the ones that make it and end up making it have the potential to grow enormously from where we are today, because trillions of dollars will come into this space. This technology will bring that much money. It will be managing that much money, if you will. So there's no question about it. Now, what you have to remember is this. Literally, if you go back to .com, most of the ones that you could have made money in anything. You just put your money in. It was going up like crazy left to right. You were making money everywhere, right? And then everything came crashing down. That's it. It was like a printing press back then. And then everything came crashing down, and only a few survived. And that's the question: what's going to survive? And I think that's why diversification is the most important part, I think, for our community. Make sure you're diversified, because none of us know which horse is going to win this race. And it's not going to be a single horse, by the way, guys. It's going to be multiple blockchains stacked on top of each other, how these all back-end systems are going to work. But to me, it's written in there. You could see it's coming. Now the question is, do you have the patience and the right plan to be able to hold on and take those profits as they come along the way?
Well, guys, we're going to start breaking this down, and I want to give a huge thank you to Mickle for making time for us as the first ever Good Evening Crypto guest to be interviewed live. And we'll call this an interview. I don't know if it's a conversation, but Mickle, we're going to put you on the little pedestal, as they call it, the soapbox for tonight as our special guest. And we're going to start breaking this video down right here, guys. We do have 5,000 listeners. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We do a live stream every day, 11 a.m. Eastern, and you get a 5:30 p.m. update. But with that being said, let's get into the topic for today. Is an XRP ETF going live tomorrow? Let's listen to what Zach has to say and respond. Here it is.
Boxes are checked, and these ETFs are on track for launch. Now, James Seyffart breaks it down, and he shows us, he highlights the wording that was used, right? Canary filed this way first on October 7th for both Litecoin and HBAR, and Bitwise did it on October 8th for their Solana ETF. Then Grayscale did it on October 9th for their Grayscale Solana ETF. Now, this was a post from James yesterday. He says, I couldn't find anyone else who had added this language yet. So I said, well, looks like we need to dig. And so that's what I did this morning. And what I uncovered was this pre-effective amendment number 2 to the S1 for Canary. And this was filed with the SEC on October 10th, 2025. Now, I already sent this to my Discord group this morning, and I said, guys, this looks like we might be going live here soon, this week. As I'm recording this update, I just got the DM. It's going live today. Folks, this is happening today. This is breaking. And so what we're looking at right here is the verbiage is right here. And I'm going to read it off to you. It's very small writing right here, but I'm going to read it off. The registrant hereby amends this registration statement on such date or dates as may be necessary to delay its effective date until the registrant shall file a further amendment, which specifically states that this registration statement shall thereafter become effective in accordance with Section 8A of the Securities Act of 1933, or until the registration statement shall become effective on such date as the Commission, acting pursuant to said Section 8A, may determine.
So that's a mouthful, guys. But here's what he's getting at. Forget about all the legal jargon. What is he saying? The deadline ends tomorrow, and the XRP ETF should go live. That's what he's saying there. So if it sounds very confusing, I know the last 20 to 30 seconds, there's a lot of legal jargon in there. Forget about all the acts, 1933, 1941. Put that to the side. The 20-day deadline from the October 8th filing and the Canary Capital one, people are saying it's October 8th. He just read it. It's October 10th. So this shouldn't be going live tomorrow. But Johnny, let's run with the week time frame, right? Because who cares about tomorrow? If it goes live by Friday, that's going to be huge. We'll start off with you. Do you believe it occurs? And what's your reaction here?
You know, it's kind of one of those mixed bag things. You got the government shut down. These things are up and open. They changed the rules. You don't have to wait anymore. So, you know, we've seen a couple of these go live, but theoretically they're going live without the approval of the SEC. The Xrp did that, but it's a small company, small fund. Do I think like a larger company is going to go risk it without the SEC's blessing while they're closed? I'm going to lean more to the no side. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I just find it that for me, they're probably going to want to wait to get that final official stamp approval. But let's find out. If it feels like it is already there, then maybe they will. Time will tell, my friend.
Mickle, I'm going to give a little bit of context, and then I'd love to kick it over to you for your opinion here. Yesterday, we got this big announcement. HBAR and Litecoin were going to be going live. Obviously, this morning, they did go live on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. But here's where it's interesting. So the issuers included language to amend their S1s that lets them automatically go effective 20 days after filing. That's the most important line. Typically, issuers delay S1s until the SEC makes them effective, but the legal default is that the S1 automatically goes live without SEC intervention. So again, the thing that's important to note here for people who are just joining the stream is that this Canary Capital XRP spot ETF filing would go live 20 days off after October 10th. That takes us to Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Is it Christmas on Halloween? Johnny,
did they modify? Did they do the S1 change?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's what Zach Rector just read on his stream was the document that Canary had filed acknowledging that this 20-day countdown was in effect. So
yeah, I guess the question is, was the government open when it was filed? That's my question. If it is, then maybe
here's what I know for sure. I'm not sure the day the government shutdown took place, but October 10th, I can Google it and figure that out. But Mickle, I do want to kick it over to you. What are some of your thoughts just broadly? And do you think we see an XRP ETF by the end of the week after October 30th?
Yeah, I mean, assuming that everything there is as stated, which is going off quite a few things, I would say yes. I mean, here's the thing, in my opinion, the way it works is exactly as was stated here. If it's not denied or explicitly delayed, then it's approved. Now, this is a little bit outside of stuff I've been paying attention to recently, so throwing it up in the air. I remember a couple months ago, you saw the SEC going and doing mass refilings of a lot of these ETFs with these actual filers. And I'm wondering if there was a general understanding, right, that we might be in a government shutdown when some of these might go live. And the SEC essentially granted them quasi permission, say, hey, go put this in your filings. And if the government shutdown is happening, they'll just roll through and they'll be approved. Personally, I think it wouldn't be hard for the government to come out and say explicitly that these are delayed on account of the government shutdown, or for the SEC to say that. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think we will see it end of week. And assuming all of this is completely accurate, then I would be totally on board with that. I mean, Even though Canary's not as small as Rex Osprey, it's also a lot smaller than Fidelity. And I can guarantee you Canary's not going to want to sit on the sidelines for very long and miss the potential opportunity of being one of the first mainstream people to have an XRP ETF out there. It's going to become a very commoditized business. And a lot of people are probably looking at a very pro SEC right now, pro crypto SEC, and saying, hey, let's get it out there. Let's be the first, and let's start getting some of that early AUM before the big guys step in and they see how much of a good trade this is and a good product to offer. And they come in, let's go steal a good ticker early on and get this up and running. So I'm going to jump on board and say, I do think it will happen before the end of the week, or on the 30th when that last deadline comes into play. And if we don't see the SEC coming out and for some reason saying this is delayed or this is explicitly denied, which I don't think there's any chance of that happening. I think if anything, it would be a delay. Then I think this thing's trading live on the 30th.
All right,
guys, go ahead.
I got a little update, doing a little AI while you guys are chatting there. And so basically what it's saying is, yes, you can file the S1. The SEC is supposed to review it and decide whether it's effective, which they can't because they're shut down right now. So you can potentially launch, but it's at risk. And it says here that post-review, when the SEC comes back, they could shut you down. So again, it's a risk. So I think at the end of the day, the liability is going to fall on whoever launches it. Now, whether they want to launch it or not, that depends on each company and whether they want to take the risk. But obviously, Canary was willing to take the risk. So it might not be surprising tomorrow if we see an XRP ETF or whatever, 20 days from the 10th. So the 30th, we see a launch. I wouldn't be surprised. It could be possible.
Yeah, and you saw similar action. I mean, even with XRP's delisting, Coinbase wasn't willing to take the risk. Uphold was. So It's really a strategic decision that these people are going to have to make. If this was someone like I said before, Fidelity, like they might not take the risk, but Canary, it might be they might be say, absolutely, we'll take the risk. This SEC tried to work with Ripple to get this entire case thrown out and get rid of the fine. What are they going to do to us for launching an ETF, So at the end of the day, there's going to be a strategic decision made by that team. And I think it would be an excellent move to be one of the first movers on this. I think if I was sitting in that chair, looking at the environment we're in and seeing a lot of these other ETFs getting ready to launch, I think I'd be pretty happy if we were the first one out there. I think I'd be pretty disappointed if we decided to delay and then ETF day came around and it was me and 15 other people all in the same day. That sounds like a lot of volume I'm losing for what could have been a very strategic move to get ahead. I love that, Johnny. I didn't know I was going to get one of those.
100% agree with you, baby. No doubt. You get the chance to be first and be able to get some AUM, assets under management, on before the other companies. There's no question. I think the companies are probably going to. I think they're going to take the risk, Abs. I think tomorrow we may wake up and they take the risk. It makes sense to be the first to grab that because when you think about it, if you're a financial institution, you know how big the XRP army is. You know how committed and loyal this community is. You're going to want to be the first one to grab as much of that as possible. So it wouldn't surprise me that happens tomorrow. We're going to find out soon, boys. Only 24 more
Here's
hours.
the real question, guys. When does BlackRock file for an XRP ETF? Because if everything Mickle just outlined is true, which I believe it is, why would a company like BlackRock not get involved? And that's really what brought Bitcoin's price level from where it was fluctuating. I believe it was around the $50,000, $60,000 range. Maybe it was even lower. Then these ETF narratives started to arise, and we saw that steady increase in price. Bitcoin, now 8% of the circulating supply is owned by BlackRock. And I think another 5% is owned by Michael Saylor. So that number is just going to continue to increase. And we're going to see that same effect here for XRP after these ETFs go live. Now, I do want to ask the live chat. One's in chat if you think we get an XRP ETF this week. Two's in chat if you think that is not going to occur. But Mickle, want to give a huge thank you. We've done 39 minutes. Me and Johnny, we're going to stick around and go through some of the live chats. If you'd like to stay, you're more than welcome. But I know you're a busy man. So I just wanted to say big thank you. First guest ever, a special place in our hearts here on GEC, and massive thank you for joining us once again tonight.
No, thank you for having me. Always love coming on the show. It's always a blast. Super happy I was able to come on. One of my favorite things about this show is, you just get on. It's just always a great discussion between you and Johnny. So always an honor to come on. So excited that I was the first guest. I'm going to hold that badge, I guess, for the entirety of this show, which is hopefully a very long time in the future. And guys, keep killing it. It's always super cool to see the viral clips with you and a new crazy guest on. So always watching and always supporting in the background and always love to be a part of it.
Appreciate it. Now, just a little bit of insight, Mickle. We almost had a Las Vegas reunion. I was thinking maybe we get Austin and Mickle on as the duo for the first guest, but we wanted to give you the spotlight. So big shout out to you. And for anybody who doesn't know Mickle, 99% of you do. Mickle XRP on YouTube. I think it's XRP Mickle on Twitter. Check it out, all platforms. Most of our listeners, if not all of them, know of you. But for anybody who doesn't, go and check it out. If you love our content, you're going to love Mickle's as well. So once again, big thank you, Mickle, and I look forward to many more conversations just like this one.
Thank you, guys. Mickle out.
We'll see you next
time. Brother, we love you. Can't wait to look to see you on the next Las Vegas slide. That was a blast.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Mickle. Johnny, well, let's get into some of the live chats for today. We got 7,000 live listeners here, and as you guys can tell, the conclusion for today's episode, it really does look like we are going to get an XRP ETF when it's all said and done by the end of the week. And let me just add this, Johnny. I took a lot of heat this month, and not from our community in particular, but just from, some of the people who come and go who were like, you said it was going to be October. Imagine if October 30th, we get the ETFs approved and we get this liquidity wave, and all of a sudden we close the month in green. I don't know, guys. Maybe God has my back here. Maybe it's divinity, his hands at work, but I am pretty excited, and I do think we're going to get some really exciting stuff here at the
end. Just to give you a little relief, I think people should give you a little break, because while we did, you might have said that you thought it was October. In all fairness, you had no idea the government was going to close down on guess what day? What day did the government close down? Does anybody know? That's right, October 1st. Going into October, all of a sudden the government decides to close, and then everything crashes, and then Abs, you're the bad guy. But the reality is, yeah. So I'm going to give you some slack here. I'll give you a break, because I don't think you had any idea that you're going to get a government shutdown on October 1st when you're talking about October.
Very, very true, guys. And I do want to give a special thank you to Johnny as well for joining us tonight. We are here 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be live again 11 a.m. tomorrow, but let's get into some of the donations. Want to give a huge thank you to anybody who donated tonight, and we will be giving away these hats free later on this week and next. I got some free giveaways we're going to be giving. We're going to be planning, so I'm excited about that. But Krypto Clay said, Mickle Mafia for life. Thank you, Abs. Thank you, Mickle. Big thank you to you, Clay, for the $20. Would not be where I am in crypto without both of you guys showing up every day and doing what you guys do. Got a lot of us through some difficult times. Just buy more. Shout out to Krypto Clay in chat. We appreciate you. And you know what's cool is that we're getting a lot of positive feedback as well. Like, yeah, some people will give me a hard time. 99% of the comments I receive are positive. They're really nice. And I want to say thank you to anybody who ever takes the time to send a message. In regards to Clay, Johnny, I'm really buying into this new narrative here. You're almost seeing like a new Abs. Nobody should talk about themselves in the third person, but I guess I'll do that for the sake of this. Is that let me get through it though.
Too late. You just did it.
I'm really buying into this narrative that maybe the smartest thing to do is to just accumulate. And that's kind of how I've been playing it over these last few years, where I look at this market and I say, a lot of people, they're trying to play the price runs. They're trying to play the ups and the downs. They're selling when it's high, buying when it's low. That's what we always preach. Buy the red days, stay consistent, DCA, and wait for these euphoric moments. It'll be fairly obvious when look at an asset like XRP goes up 400% in a month. Those are the times when our community should be taking profit, or at least considering that we're at the peak of a bull run. So big thank you to Krypto Clay. Next donation, thank you to John. He said XRP asymmetrically will pay down our debt. Now, we did a video about this earlier in today's day, I guess. I almost said earlier in today's episode, where we really broke this down in depth. And we said, listen, guys, Donald Trump has given us the blueprint that the United States government is planning on leveraging digital assets. Mm-hmm. It's really our job to figure out, are they going to use XRP? Are they going to use some of these other tokens? Big thank you to John for the $2 donation. Johnny, I want to kick it to you on this one as well. Christopher commented, Mickle, as a fiduciary, how can Ripple promote holding XRP through Evernorth and sell XRP monthly from the escrow? Seems difficult. Thoughts? Now, this question was for Mickle. I do apologize, Christopher, but what we can do, we can get Mickle on the next live stream and address that question for you. I'll give you my take here. As a fiduciary, how can Ripple promote holding XRP through Evernorth? They're a non-active partner, right? Here's what's great about Ripple. Bunch of their advisors, those are independent. I don't know if missions is the right word, but those are independent, like business ventures that they're going on. David Schwartz stepped down from Ripple, stepped into Evernorth. Brad Garlinghouse is not taking on an active role at Evernorth. I think that would be the big caveat there that allows them to do so. Johnny, maybe you can speak to this better.
Well, I mean, and you kind of touched on it too, right? At the end of the day, the Evernorth and Ripple, they don't own them. So Evernorth, like Ripple can't tell Evernorth what to do and what not to do. Okay. So that's why they can, that there is no fiduciary responsibility there. And so the reality is, look, at the end of the day, if Evernorth is buying their product and Ripple wants to go and promote it, of course they could. They have no ownership in the Evernorth company and what it does. Now, yes, I see what he's saying, right? Well, they're selling their Evernorth is buying their product. Yeah. You guys are buying my Merlin product. So I'm saying go and buy Merlin. Click on the link below, right? That doesn't mean how is there fiduciary responsibility? I'm promoting my product. Yeah, but I don't own you. So there's, you understand, you see the difference there? And so there's no connection. And so that's why I think at the end of the day, that's why they could do it without any retribution, because they have no stake in Evernorth. As you said, they're independent advisors. They, David Schwartz, for example, no longer, part of working for Ripple. So that's how I think it's possible.
Big thank you to Christopher for that donation. And guys, I know the XRP escrow is a big topic of conversation. I mean, a lot of that could be pre-allocated, and we don't really have the time to break that down in depth, but that's another narrative that needs to be addressed, especially as Ripple is in the process of becoming a national bank. Big thank you to Dennis for the $2. Sup, Mickle? Miss you in the AM, bro. Nice house. Dennis will pass along the message. Big thank you, guys. For Love commented, thank you to Sarah. I love getting all this information in one spot. Thanks for putting in the work, guys. Big thank you to Sarah for the $5 donation and the beautiful dog in the profile picture. Kicks and Fits said, you my boy, Mickle. Shout out to Mickle. Dirt Nap said, Mickle and GEC in one spot. LFG, guys. Let's go. Pretty excited. Big thank you to Kicks and Fits and Dirt Nap Defense. That's a pretty interesting username. Big thank you to you. $50 donation here. Want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Opulence434. GEC Weekly Mickle Mafia update, please, Abs. I can only beg Mickle for so much of his time. I would love to have Mickle on every single week, but I think we can definitely do a monthly collab or every 4 to 6 weeks. I think Mickle would love to come on our show if he's willing to give us half an hour or so. So that'd be pretty awesome. And it was awesome that he was able to come and join us as our first guest. Now, you guys, I'm going to plan some awesome guests. I already want to tell you, we've been working on this. Some of the names that were circulating, you guys know the Zach Rectors, the Jake Clavers, but also the Sal Gilbertis, right? The Bitwise, Matt Hogans. These types of people are really, really valuable, especially as we go through this ETF process. We're going to be reaching out to them to get them on the brand new channel. So I'm excited about that, guys. Wanted to give a comment to this person. It's not a donation. They said, hey, Abs, it's our 30th anniversary. How about a shout out to Rob and Michelle watching you guys? Rock it out. Well, shout out to Rob and Michelle and congrats on 30 years. Johnny, 30 years ago, that was your 50th birthday, my friend. The good old days. Big thank you.
I look pretty young. I look pretty young for 80, huh?
Dude, look, you're a handsome guy. Nobody will take that from you, right? Shout out to Johnny. One's in chat if he's handsome. John, big thank you for the $2 donation. Guys, thoughts on the government using XRP to pay down our national debt? We just talked about that actually on the show prior. We released a video about this, so go and check it out. Not only do I believe it's a possibility, I think Donald Trump has consistently hinted at the fact that the United States government will be tapping blockchain products as a solution to the debt crisis that we're experiencing. But also, he believes in the asset class. Putting the debt crisis to the side, America is now a pro-crypto nation, and I do think at some point during Trump's term, we will see the crypto reserve established, we will see a reduction in capital gains tax, and we will see assets like XRP dramatically increase in price. I've said it before, I'll say it again. My prediction, it's not 3 digits next year or anything like that, but 3 digits by the end of Trump's administration. I think that is very possible for the XRP community, guys. So big thank you for the $2. Dirt Nap Defense said, help. If not storing on exchanges, what hardware/cold wallets do you guys suggest? I can't suggest, but I'll tell you what I use. I use a Ledger. I like the Ledger Nano. Used it for several years, found it very consistent, very reliable. It's a cold wallet, very protected. Get your crypto off exchanges if you can, right? Keep 10, 20% of your crypto on exchanges. This is what I do. I'm not telling you guys what to do. That's the active, XRP that I plan on taking profit on, or Bitcoin that I plan on taking profit on, or it's recently purchased crypto that I haven't moved to an exchange or a cold wallet yet. But in general, I always use this analogy. Keeping your crypto on an exchange is like parking your car on the highway. You can get away with it. Maybe nothing will happen, but it's not a good idea. Johnny, floor is yours.
I would say this, Abs. Again, I'm not going to tell people what to do, but I will say what I'm doing, right? I use the Ellie Paul wallet, but the Titan one, not the one with the hot wallet. You don't want to mix those up. And I will tell you that I was using the Atomic wallet, Abs. And as you know, in 2023, I got hacked. So I stay away from all hot wallets after getting hacked. So I'm not going to tell people not to use the Atomic wallet, but just understand it did get hacked. And I just want our community to be aware of that. So when you go and get into a wallet, understand that the safest wallet possible out there are cold wallets, because you're completely disconnected from the internet. And that's how you want to be. And never put your seed phrase ever on any devices that are connected to the internet, because that's how you put them at risk, guys. So this is a great question. I'm glad you asked it. And what I tell everybody is, what I do, Abs, is, as you all know, I have a profit plan, right? So what I got is the coins that I'm planning to sell, I personally leave them on the exchange. This way they're there and they're ready to go when I want to sell. The ones that I'm holding long-term, those I keep on a cold wallet to protect them and be safe. So that's what I encourage everybody to at least, that's a plan anyway, something you could do. And obviously, Abs is showing Merlin right there. So if you haven't signed up, click on the link below. We're giving 30 days free. You can bring all your coins in one place, track them all in one place. But more importantly, guys, you can create a profit plan and you can see what taxes you owe the government. So we put this tool in place for you guys to be able to make your life easier, to understand what your crypto holdings are doing for you. If you want to be like us, we encourage you to try it out. 30 days free. Click the link below and let us know what you think. And thank you, Crypto Caddy.
Big thank you, guys. And a big thing, I'm seeing it in the live chat as well, is security concerns, guys. So again, Merlin, we don't have access to your crypto. We don't have the ability to touch your digital assets. But here's what's good about our product is that, let's say you're traveling. And I've done this before. I travel very often. Every month or so, I'm taking a flight. And I do not like to sign into any of my exchanges. I don't check my crypto whenever I'm in an airport. But if I have the Merlin app, because it doesn't have access to my crypto, if hypothetically somebody were to hack into this thing, none of my crypto is at risk. So you can use this in high risk situations, quote unquote. If you're traveling, if you're in an airport, if you're at a hotel, if you're at a big music event or something, you're at a sporting event and you don't want to tap into the Wi-Fi. Well, if you have Merlin, you don't have to worry about your crypto being at risk. So I think that's another big advantage, guys. Check it out. 30 days completely free. And this is a product we use, right? I can only tell you about it so many times. I use it myself, and I think our listeners should use it as well. Completely free to click on the link below. But Kicks and Fits, big thank you. $20 donation here. Massive shout out to anybody who's watching and donated for tonight. And I hope you guys are enjoying this chat. It's a late night episode here on Good Evening Crypto. We're back at the Good Evening Crypto live streams. It's been morning streams, now we're night. Tomorrow morning, we'll be back in the morning. But Kicks and Fits said, Crypto Channels ranking, GEC 1, Mickle 2, 3, everyone else. Big thank you. We appreciate the compliment there. Continue the great work, fellas. Working to accumulate that Johnny Crypto 833 and some in a few years when the price explodes. Victory party on Johnny's yacht, guys. I'm just hope I'm invited. That's all I can say about that.
I can tell you right now, you're invited. And the great thing is, folks, we're all going to have victories. But Abs, as you always say, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And guys, if you want to be like us, first you start with Merlin, and then you get yourself an IRA, a SEP IRA, or a Roth IRA. I personally love the Roth IRA. And the beautiful thing about this, Abs, you know why I love a Roth IRA. I get to earn all of my crypto holdings tax-free, baby. So yes, all you got to do is hold it for 5 years. And at 59 and a half years old, because we're all going to get there someday, you're going to be able to cash out, withdraw your crypto earnings. And imagine, Abs, at your age. Imagine right now at your age, 20, 30 years old, when you're 59 and a half, my friend, what your Roth portfolio would be like. Could you imagine the tax bill you would have to pay on your crypto earnings? Right? Let's talk about this for a second. Let's say we're at $100 XRP 30 years from now. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody what your portfolio is going to be worth, but I know it's going to be worth a lot. Would you want to pay taxes on that, or would you rather see all that growth happening tax-free, baby? Yes, I just said it, and yes, it's possible. With a Roth IRA, with a Roth IRA, ITrust Capital, you can let your portfolio grow tax-free. All you got to do is click on the link below, sign up. You got to use GEC9, promo code GEC9. When you fund your account, it's going to show you, it's going to ask for a promo code. Put that in there. You're going to get a free $100, and you're going to be just like us, growing, watching your crypto grow tax-free, baby. I don't know what else to say.
So guys, there's a lot of people here who must have just joined the stream. If you want us to go through the XRP approval date video one more time, we can do that for you guys. Throw a 1 in chat if you want to go through it again. Throw a 2 in chat if you don't want to go through it again and you kind of got the message. But for newer people, we did go through that. An XRP ETF, it's looking like, will be approved this week. Mic drop, right? People want it. Wait, I forget. Was one's to do it again? Is that what I said? One's was to do it again. I apologize. I had a lapse in judgment.
I think you said one's was to reveal the date again. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go through it once again for you guys. I'm seeing a lot of ones in chat. We are going through the live donations, so I don't want to go through these quickly. I want to show respect to everybody who donated. So you know what? We'll come back to the live donations, guys. I'm going to get into this RECTOR video one more time. We do have 8,600 live listeners, over 1,150 on YouTube. If you're watching this show, you enjoy this content, smash that like button and help us out. We are one of the fastest growing crypto channels on the interwebs right now, guys. That's an absolute fact. YouTube reminds me of that pretty consistently, and that's not because of me. That is because of you guys showing up every single day, engaging, being an important part of the community. I do not take it for granted. I am so appreciative of the people who show up here every day. So a special thank you to you guys, and we're going to continue to improve and be consistent. I promise you that much. But let's get into this XRP ETF update. We're going to let this video play, then we'll read a tweet and break it down.
Boxes are checked, and these ETFs are on track for launch. Now, James Safer breaks it down, and he shows us, he highlights the wording that was used, right? Canary filed this way first on October 7th for both Litecoin and HBAR, and Bitwise did it on October 8th for their Solana ETF. Then Grayscale did it on October 9th for their Grayscale Solana ETF. Now, this was a post from James yesterday. He says, I couldn't find anyone else who had added this language yet. So I said, well, looks like we need to dig. And so that's what I did this morning. And what I uncovered was this pre-effective amendment number 2 to the S1 for Canary. And this was filed with the SEC on October 10th, 2025. Now, I already sent this to my Discord group this morning, and I said, guys, this looks like we might be going live here soon, this week. As I'm recording this update, I just got the DM. It's going live today. Folks, this is happening today. This is breaking. And so what we're looking at right here is the verbiage is right here. And I'm going to read it off to you. It's very small writing right here, but I'm going to read it off. The registrant hereby amends this registration statement on such date or dates as may be necessary to delay its effective date until the registrant shall file a further amendment, which specifically states that this registration statement shall thereafter become effective in accordance with Section 8A of the Securities Act of 1933, or until the registration statement shall become effective on such date as the Commission, acting pursuant to said Section 8A, may determine.
So once again, a lot of legal jargon in there. The important thing you need to understand is that there was a deadline and we are approaching that deadline. And somebody asked a great question here. They said, how can there be an XRP ETF approval date when the government is shut down? It's not going to open anytime soon. Peter Thiel is going around talking about the Antichrist. I didn't see that part of the comment. Yes, he is, but he's been doing that for a long time, right? Shout out to Palantir. XRP isn't going to play out like you think. Wake up. I disagree with this person because once again, their basis is incorrect. You said we can't get ETFs when the government is shut down. We just showed you earlier in the episode that yes, you can. And earlier today, HBAR and Litecoin ETFs went live for the first time when the government was shut down. So one quick sentence, I'll kick it right to you. The issuers included language in their amended S1 filings that lets them automatically go effective 20 days after the filing. Johnny Krypto, floor is yours.
I think that's the key that everybody's not understanding, Abs, is that when you do this type of filing, it basically says that you can automatically go after 20 days or after a certain number of days. Now, what's supposed to happen, and this is the part that where we talked about earlier in the show, where there is a little risk here, guys, according to AI anyway, is that the SEC, the reason why there's that 20 days is so the SEC can review it. And if there's anything they want to kick back, they could kick back within that 20 days. But the reality is, in this case, because the SEC is closed, they aren't going to review it, and they're going to launch these things. I think they're going to launch them. And then these companies are pretty much saying, hey, we're going to take the risk and launch. And if the SEC has a problem, they're going to come in, they're going to reach out to us, they're going to tell us stop or fix or change something. But basically, it sounds like that's the risk, is that these ETFs could get shut down for maybe a certain portion of time. But I think the companies, as we saw today, there were 2 of them launched today. I think they're going to take the risk, right? We know they took the risk today for the HBAR one, because they're probably assuming what's worst case scenario. We're going to get a bunch of money today, When the SEC opens up, whenever it is, if they have a problem, they'll shut us down for a day or two. We'll figure it out, get it going, and we'll open it back up again.
Biggest thing here, guys, is that now U.S. government's pro-crypto. So if this was Gary Gensler,
They wouldn't do it.
I would think, oh, they'd be too nervous. It's not
No
going to
way.
happen. But they know that Paul Atkins is leading this narrative.
Correct.
And he's following the leadership of Donald Trump. Both of them extremely pro-crypto and have close relationships with Ripple, with Cardano, with Chainlink, with Ethereum, with A16Z. So a lot of things are kind of coming to fruition here, guys. It's pretty obvious. And I wanted to tie this into a comment that we got from Seven Dennis. I believe it's a donation that I was reading earlier right here. Canary XRP filed with the same language on October 8th. So I saw the 10th. He's saying the 8th. Regardless, it's either tomorrow or it's Friday. So we're talking this week. It's not that big of a difference. Did want to give a big thank you to Dennis for that donation. But Johnny, I'm sure you can check that filing in AI, and we're going to give you guys a live update right now. We're going to get back into the donations. You guys are the best. Big thank you to Ray White for the $5. He said, you guys are the best. Thank you. The next 2 to 3 years are changing the way that money will be moved and used. We are ready. We've been ready, and I'm excited for you, Ray White. You have the right mindset, because I really do think there's going to be so much change between now and the end of the Trump administration. The next 3 years, we are in acceleration mode. This market was put on ice. It was put on pause. Now we're in the blender. We're everything's changing right now. So from the ground up, and I couldn't be more excited for a project like XRP that's going to benefit off of all these developments. K Capone with the $10 said, sup abs, and a big thank you to you for your $10 donation. Thanks for having Connor as the first guest. What's up, Connor? What happened to today's video? Watched halfway and disappeared. When will you be going live again? So that was for Mickle. I apologize about that, guys. Shout out to Mickle. And I'm not sure about that video. I did see a lot of people commenting that. Mike, $5 donation. Big thank you, said, can Solana Network handle Western Union memes and etc.? Now, yes, it can handle Western Union and it can handle the memes, but the scaling issue is how far can this network be extended? What we know for sure, Solana has congestion issues and Solana has validation issues. That's why a lot of these transactions go down. That's why a lot of times the Solana network during bull markets in particular goes down. So I think that Solana is not going to be tapped. That's just a personal opinion. There's better products out there. If I wanted to scale in a completely different network that was also attached to Ethereum, let's say, I would go with AVAX. I'd go with Cardano. I'd go with, an HBAR. I wouldn't land on Solana. It's too slow. It's too expensive, and the network goes down. So I think a lot of regular companies are going to figure that out as well. Big thanks for the $5. Foes Gator with the $10 donation. No comment there, but the $10 greatly appreciated, my friend. Meta Girl says, thanks, guys, for all the content, keeping it real. We appreciate it. If there's one thing we can do, we can keep it real here on GEC. Poncho Hernandez, and a thank you for the $10 donation, Meta Girl. Really appreciate it. Poncho says, yes, ETFs this week brings lobster and Wagyu for Thanksgiving. Shout out to Johnny Krypto. We know Johnny Krypto is going to be double fisting meatballs. No turkey for my man this year. Stay away from it, my friend. Foz Gator with another $10 donation. Big thank you. No comment there, but again, greatly appreciated. Big thank you for the donation there. Rob says, any suggestions for sources on how to sell from a ledger? There are so many phonies out there giving BS advice. It's hard to find good sources. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Johnny Krypto, do you have a response to this one?
Let's take a look here. Sorry, I was checking AI here, Abs. And any suggestions for sources for how to sell? Suggestions for sources for how to sell from Ledger. Sell from Ledger or buy from Ledger? I don't know what he's trying to say. So many.
Well, it's all good, my friend. Let's kick it.
I get it. Never mind. Okay, I was thinking he was trying. Never mind. Yeah, no. You know what? There's probably I'm sure there's some YouTube videos out there. In fact, I think it's called Mr. Dad or something. The Dad guy. He's really good. Check out his videos on how to use these ledgers. There's good videos out there. Crypto Dad, I think, is his name. So you can check that out. But Google it. I'm sure you'll find some good sources.
Thank you very much. Boysart says, that guy must have been a BTC maxi. I think so. And guys, I saw the Litecoin X account was going wild. They quote tweeted some Zach Rector stuff. They were commenting underneath my post today. So that was pretty funny. But Litecoin,
were they bashing you or what they say to you?
They were actually asking about Johnny Krypto. But
get the hell out.
They were very frustrated that HBAR was getting more attention than Litecoin, although both their products went live today. So that was kind of the source of of Litecoin's frustration. But again, what is Litecoin's value? What is the economy that Litecoin's creating? Where's the long-term value in the Litecoin network?
Yeah.
These are questions that need to be answered. And
those are great questions, Abs. And boy, that's why Litecoin doesn't like you, because you're asking great questions.
right. Kyle Roberts, big thank you for the $10 donation. Appreciate you guys more than you know. Life-changing info. Shout out to you, Kyle, and big thank you. Thoughts on the Zaman app? Johnny Krypto, I'm going to give you this one as well.
The Zaman app, I use the app. I've got some of my XRP there. So, it's been built by a Ripple-backed company, if you will. So to me, again, that is a hot wallet. But if you're going to use one, that is one of the ones that's, primarily made for the XRP account. So again, hot wallets, guys, all I can say is this, Abs. I used the hot wallet Atomic and it got hacked. So you know how I feel about hot wallets, guys. Stick to the cold ones when you can.
Right. If it's this is the thing too, guys. You really just sometimes don't move your XRP, don't move your Bitcoin, leave it where it is. Sometimes the best thing to do to avoid mistakes is simplicity in this market. And that doesn't apply to what happened to Johnny. But I talked to a lot of newer investors here who they want to move their assets from one place to another. They're doing things without working with somebody, without running a test transaction. Take it slow, be really simple. Make sure you're in a non-emotional state when you're moving your money as well. A lot of people, they get emotional, they get excited, they're moving things. Take it slow, reduce the emotions, and focus on what needs to get done. If you're going to send a transaction to a new wallet address, send a $1 transaction first to test it out. Don't go and send $10,000 to an address that you've never sent, even though most of the time it will be fine. It's better safe than sorry, and I've heard too many tough stories. So that could be one simple piece of advice that I would give a newer investor as well. Mickle XRP, and I'm butchering that, $20. Thank you very much. So fine. You guys rock. Never thought I would watch almost every day, but I do. Big thank you. Listen, we're appreciative that.
Shout out to Mickle XRP, baby. Every single day, you converted them from a single viewer to an everyday viewer.
Appreciate it, guys. Now here's the upgrade. Now you got to watch twice a day. But here's what's cool. We're going to have community badges being launched. And for how long people are in our community, they're going to be rewarded with new perks and badges. So we've been working on that in the background as well. And I'm really excited to be launching that for you guys. But big thank you to Mickle XRP. We're going to keep putting out great content. And here's the deal, guys. We're 24/7, 365. I'm not paying attention to crypto and watching the football games. I'm like all in on this 24/7. So keep showing up. We're going to keep covering the important news. And hopefully as we get some more bullish momentum, people will get excited again. And people will start seeing the vision that we're seeing, which is that these asset prices are going to go much higher. Robbie said, tomorrow is my birthday. I say an ETF would suffice as my gift. Big happy birthday to Robbie in chat. $5 donation. Much appreciated. I would say ETF would suffice as my gift. Listen, what has David Schwartz always said? Christmas on Halloween. Could this be the green candle moment we've all been waiting for, guys? So that would be pretty exciting. And a final donation, big thank you to Bailey. She commented, send love to Abs and Johnny. GEC is the best show ever. Big thank you to Bailey, always putting a bunch of hearts in chat, and we appreciate each and every single one of you guys. But with that being said, we're an hour and 8 minutes into the episode. It is 10 p.m. here on the East Coast. Thank you to Johnny. Thank you to Mickle. Big shout out to every single person who showed up today. And if somebody out there is telling you that you should be buying Litecoin instead of XRP.
Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
That is what you should play for them. That's the text message you should send in response. But we love you guys. We appreciate you all. Hopefully you had some fun. You learned some information and you'll show up once again. We'll see you guys 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Johnny, any closing words for today, actually, and then we'll wrap it.
Gabs, at the end of the day, I think, exciting times on the horizon. I will say this. I was doing a little more digging in the background. We always like to bring you. So while you were reading those things, I did a little more work, and I got a little more information on the Canary stuff. So according to this news I got from AI, Canary, and by the way, I do want to say this real quick, Gabs. This guy right here, okay? This guy over here, Golden Goose, just for the record, I'm a Gen Xer, not a boomer. Yes, I know how to use AI, all right? Just want to get that.
Guys, you ever seen the meme of somebody running and the garage doors closing and they slide right underneath? That was Johnny, the generational gap between Gen X and boomer. At 68 years old, you barely made it, my man.
But I made it, baby. That's all that matters. But I want to give you this last minute news. So looking at this, it's basically saying the Canary one that launched today The CEO, so giving you this live, CEO Steve McGlurk said he felt comfortable launching Litecoin and Hedera ETFs because he had gone several times back and forth with the ETF, with the SEC before the government shutdown. So he said he felt very, very comfortable. He said there were other ones that they still have a lot more work to do, other filings, and that they haven't had as much time to go back and forth with the SEC. So we're going to find out if he did get to go back and forth on the XRP one with the SEC, which he doesn't state here, then we will get, I think we will get it. But if we don't get it, then that's going to tell us they hadn't had enough time to go back and forth with the SEC. So there you go, guys. There's the news. Now you got it. Now we wait and see what happens. But either way, I can tell you this. Even if it doesn't happen on the 28th or the 30th, we are very, very close to seeing a bunch of XRP ETFs, I think, launching soon.
Well, guys, we are only 30 likes away from passing 800 likes on the show. Just want to give a huge thank you to anybody who showed up and hit the like button on today's episode.
Should we give it 5 more minutes, Ab? Should we give it 5 more minutes to get those 30 likes?
Well, here's what's interesting too, guys, is and again, like when you think about what you just outlined, Johnny, is we're really close. We're really, really close. Like we're debating the nuances at this point.
Yeah.
But within the next month or so, and I know people are focused on this week because we did a whole episode on it today.
Yep.
But think about it. It's almost guaranteed we're a month away here at maximum from an XRP ETF. This new demand is coming, and we're going to be here to take advantage of that opportunity. So be sure if you're newer to this market, stay consistent, do your dollar cost averaging strategy, know what you hold. Because remember, it was less than 2 weeks ago. We had this huge liquidity event in the market. And what happened, Johnny? Everybody was calling for a bear market. This time around, remember, when we go into market euphoria here and assets like XRP are breaking their all-time highs and we're at $4, then $5, then $8, then $12 in price, people are going to be telling you 50 and 100. And that's, you don't want to fall for that side of the argument as well. So have a plan, stick to that plan, and most importantly, know what you hold. Because again, if you know the true value of the asset like XRP, Johnny, then who cares if you're missing the peak? Who cares if you have to, stomach some volatility on the stairway to heaven, as we like to say? Floor is yours. Any thoughts?
Oh,
you're muted.
So, I do. What's going on here? I couldn't agree with you more, Abs. You nailed it so perfectly. At the end of the day, people, Abs, I'm literally the perfect example, almost a poster. I didn't know what I held when I had Amazon. Abs, can you imagine, dude? I had Amazon in my hand at $17. $17. And I didn't know what I held, right? And so what did I do? I did what most people are going to do. If it goes up that high, I sold it, right? It's like, because back then it was like, oh, you made money. Take it. Get the hell out of Dodge. Markets are always up and down. You don't know how they're going to play. But the reality is, now that we fast forward and you know what you're holding, you'd almost, I can't imagine anybody in our chat here, because we're so early, that would sell everything. I honestly don't think our chat, I know that's a crazy statement, but I almost feel like our chat knows better because we have such a sophisticated group here that they know better that, yes, I'm going to take some profits, but I'm going to carry some for the long run. And guys, that's what it is. And I couldn't agree with you more, Abs. Whether we get the ETFs tomorrow or next week or next month, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that we get them, and that I saw somebody in the chat asked us, they said, hey, John, or they said, hey, do you think we're going to, we'll just drive in a bunch of money into the space? Guys, we believe it's going to draw money in. How that's going to react in price? Well, we're all going to find out. We're all going to see what it can do. I mean, I'm looking at H-bar today, Abs. I didn't see much move on H-bar, but that was just one ETF, and it's a very small community. Now we're talking XRP, multiple XRPs, a large community, billions of dollars coming in, could have a very, very different impact like we saw with Bitcoin. So we're just going to have to wait and see what it tells us.
Yeah. And you know what else is interesting is like when we're looking at the inflows for a product like HBAR, it's much more niche. Like we know there's all this pent up demand for a product like XRP. And so even we have the examples. If you look at the RECTOR ETF, which is a really small product, nobody had ever heard of them. They had the largest day one trading volume of any ETF asset launched in 2025 at $40 million. So imagine a Grayscale product, imagine a Fidelity, imagine a Franklin Templeton. It's not going to be 50 million. It's not going to be 100 million. It will probably be 250 million, 320 million, $480 million of daily inflows on the initial launch, right? So that has to have an effect on the price. And I believe we will see that demand towards the end of the year. We did get one more donation. Want to give a big thank you to Mickle, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah,
We love you guys. He said, well, we love you too. Big thank you for the $10 donation. Look at that Good Morning Crypto yellow on the screen. But Johnny, once again, we got 11,000 listeners. Just want to give a huge thank you. If you guys enjoyed this content, smash that like button. Let us know. Comment underneath the video, not in the live chat, underneath the video. Who would you like the next guest to be on Good Evening Crypto? We'll look at that and act accordingly, guys. But with that being said, we love you guys. We appreciate you all. We'll see you in about, let me do some mental math, 13 hours. And like we always say, we'll see you in the next one.
You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. See, the bottom line is... Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing.
But the challenge, as you know well, is the U.S. has had this very